Okay, I did it. So, without further ado, happy to introduce Monte Watson. Monte, take it over. Tell us everything we need to know, and then we'll ask you some questions in the end.
Thank you, Diana, and thank you for everyone that's joined. I look forward to hopefully having the opportunity to meet all of you in person. And Mia, just if you're still here, interesting enough, I just met Sway last night at an event at the Chattahoochee Works that we were invited to. And Sway's the artist that Mia mentioned did the mural on her building. We're actually going to be applying for that same grant, and hopefully we'll get a chance to participate and have Sway do some art on our building. But I thought that was pretty coincidental. Um, Again, as Diana said, my name is Monte Watson. I have spent my entire life in corporate America in the talent acquisition, talent management space. And up until April of this year, I was the global head of talent brand for Visa. So it's definitely a plunge into the abyss as far as entrepreneurship. And for me, what I realized in March when I made that decision was it's required. In my opinion, you can't have half 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And when I did make that decision to actually commit and do this full time, doors started to open. Again, 20 plus years in corporate America, I happened to sort of organically open up a electric bike shop. And for me, it was a little bit of an organic sort of experience, not something that I really thought a lot about. But as the doors started to open, we were sort of, my wife and I, who's the co-founder, sort of pushed to continue the path. And that sort of cemented our sort of understanding that this was sort of divine. This is something that we should be doing. So I think we've talked about the word micromobility a lot. I'm not sure if many of you really know or have had the opportunity to sort of dive deeply into the space in the industry of micromobility, but essentially it's defined as a solution for urban transportation to accomplish solutions around the last and the first mile. So if you think about the last mile, it's sort of like from the MARTA station to your house, right? That's a mile, or from your work to the public transportation bus stop or MARTA is a mile, or from parking your car around Mercedes-Benz a mile away and getting to the venue. These are sort of what you see initially as being the use cases or the demands of micromobility. That's why we see the Limes and the birds out there, the scooters that you can just tap your phone and jump on and ride and just lay them down on the street anywhere you want to. That became something that started to really, I think, erupt during COVID. The world of electric bikes is still really, really young. The industry is about, I would say, about 10 years old, starting around 2016 in the US. And for me, I had a colleague who was in Switzerland who was riding an electric bike. And when we relocated from the suburbs to Atlanta, because I lived in Gwinnett for a long time and moved to Atlanta when I took the visa job, I decided to invest in an electric bike myself and use it to commute. And that's when we learned about the BeltLine and we started to ride our bikes on the BeltLine and learn about this BeltLine thing. And coincidental, I'm also into martial arts, and I was a part of a group on the Beltline. The person who was teaching at the school owned the building, and this is where I'm at right now. And we found out 3 years ago that the Beltline was coming. I had just bought a bike, moved to the city, and decided, hey, let's investigate this. Let's do some research around micromobility. And one of the first statistics that sort of really anchored us in this is that the expectation is that bikes and scooters are going to grow 10x cars, especially in urban areas. 10x. There's going to be more cars and more bikes sold. I'm actually in my shop right now, and there are people outside testing e-bikes right now, riding right now. One is coming from college to Georgia Tech, and she's doing a test ride right now with her parents, and her father's riding a bike right now in our parking lot. So it's these type of use cases that we're seeing become more and more alternative ways for folks to actually move around cities. And of course, with the BeltLine, what we discovered was that it was a huge micromobility corridor. I mean, half the time, if you're over there by Ponce City Market or Krog Street, if you've been on the BeltLine, you can't even walk without a scooter or a bike zooming past you because it's like a highway. So I know, Diana, you wanted to make this conversational, so I don't want to continue because I can talk for the whole hour, trust me. But I would like, if there's a pause for a second, to just sort of ask the group here if there's any questions, anything I said that sort of you're curious about before I continue. But yeah, love to hear from you.
I'll let folks jump in if you have a question. I'll just make a pause, just say this. When you travel to other cities and travel internationally, I think you get a real sense of how important other modes of transportation are outside of, cars. And culturally, we're so used to cars in the South, but that's not the case everywhere. And I think it's important to kind of figure out, why can't we think broader? So I just making that comment. But if nobody has a question, then go for it.
I'll
Keep going.
continue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, one of the things that we talked about as we were sort of preparing for this conversation is I wanted to sort of share our journey. So I started with sort of the idea, the spark that sort of got us to where we are right now, and sort of what we consider just divine intervention, or when something's for you, I think the universe, God, will reveal the opportunities to you. So we've had a lot of that occur over the last year. So we founded our business, we opened up in May of 2024, so it's been a little over a year when we opened up our store. Our location is in Blandtown, and if you don't know where Blandtown is, it's actually the first historical Black town, railroad town, post Reconstruction, is what Blandtown. It was owned by Samuel Bland, which was a freed slave who bought about 10 acres of land here. So this is a neighborhood that we're in, and I'm proud to say that we're one of the first African American businesses established since this time, since this disruption of industrialization that happened to this community that we're in. But we're on English Street off of Huff and Howell Mills, where we are. So West Midtown, or what they're referring to is Upper West Side, is what they're calling the neighborhood. But some people would continue using Bankhead and the other labels. But anyway, we're here, and as I mentioned, the BeltLine announced that they were going to be creating a trail right next to the building. And the first thing we thought of was, let's get involved. What does the BeltLine have to offer? And I think Mia had mentioned a grant that she received from the BeltLine to beautify her space. We actually applied twice to the BeltLine Ventures cohort, which is an accelerator for small businesses that they do on an annual basis. I think they've been doing it for about 5 years. We were the third cohort to participate, graduating in December. And that's really where we incubated more of the micromobility aspect because of the demand that we saw on the BeltLine. We're on the BeltLine, and we needed to understand the leadership of the BeltLine and what types of programs they had to offer small businesses. So we joined it. It's a 12-week program, and it really gave us an opportunity to network, to really give us access to decision makers. And we continue as an alumni to use their resources, use their network to further our goals as a small business in micromobility in Atlanta. So again, that was one of the things that we did. I think that was instrumental. And I did this while still working. So it was my wife, my daughter, who's on the chat right now or on the call, Asha, and me. And we just went for it. And we were just hustling and trying to make it happen. We opened up the store, and we started to just participate in these accelerators to really learn about the access to capital, the access to mentorship. And it's really, I think, helped shape us. And we continue fostering those relationships. We have Henry Caslin, who's been a super an important advisor to us. He's been with us since we opened, literally, and his connections, his ability to really help us understand how we need to really be out there engaging with community has been really important. So I can't say enough about networking, engaging with organizations, and leveraging those relationships in a strategic way.
I have
So
a question, Monte.
yes,
Speaking of leveraging relationships, you mentioned micromobility in the last panel. Are there particular ways in which you all collaborate with other micromobility companies? And if so, which ones and how?
yeah. So one of the, and this is, you know, in incubation, something that we'll be moving forward with fairly soon. So more news to come. But essentially, one of the problems we had sort of identified early on is that when we rent bikes, so we sell, we rent, and we service e-bikes. So if you got an e-bike, or if you're interested in e-bikes, you can test ride, you can rent one, and even the money that you spend for renting an e-bike, you can use for purchase. But one of the things that we discovered was there's not a lot of places to park your bikes in a
Mhm,
secure way. And additionally, in North America, a bike is stolen every 30 seconds, right?
mhm,
And the parts, even just like a car, are really valuable. You know, I won't bore you with the different parts of the bike, but it could be very costly to a person who spent, over $1,000 for their bike, right, to get it stolen. So one of the things that we discovered when we started to investigate Europe, which is, light years away as far as advanced as relates to micromobility, is that there are charging stations and there are secure docking stations in some of these cities. So we started to investigate that, and we went down that lane, and we've partnered with an organization called Bike Keep, and what we'll be providing the city and other retailers. If you have a business, we can put a digital sign from an advertisement perspective, and a docking station. So now you're drawing people that are sustainably minded, who have e-bikes or have bikes, who tend to be, if you really look at the demographics of people that are riding bikes and using e-bikes, they tend to be higher net worth folks. So you're going to be able to draw that. So that's one of our sales pitches, that we can put a kiosk in a parking station for bikes that charge in front of your Mercedes Benz, in front of your business establishment, do a revenue share of sorts, and participate in the micromobility business, because people will need to secure. There's tons of people that have scooters, that have bikes, and when they want to go to a venue or event, they get there and there's nowhere to park. They got to park their bike or their scooter next to a fence. So that's going to be something that you'll see us advance in the city in the next 12 months before the World Cup. So that's one of the partnerships from an infrastructure perspective that people don't think about. It's not just bikes and scooters and riding them for leisure, but actually providing secure parking as this particular modality starts to grow and increase in the city.
mhm. Yeah.
That's one
Uh,
example, Diane. Yeah.
so a related question, just from a technical point of view, you buy a bike, can you insure these bikes? How
Yep.
easy is it to fix, right? Because with all of these kind of new things for us comes all of the gadgets that go along with it, fixing it, insuring it, repairing it,
Mm-hmm.
upkeep, the
Yeah.
newest
Yeah.
upgrade. So how far along are we in this piece of, like, as we depend on our bikes, maybe even for our livelihood, right? How do you insure these bikes? What's the
Yeah, it's a good question. There is, believe it or not, bike insurance. There's a company, I don't want to shout them out too much, but there's a company called Tempo that
Mhm,
you could actually use if you have a bike, that will give you 3 years of protection from theft. That's one example from a theft perspective that we advise our customers to invest in. There's also, just like anything that you buy, there's extended warranties that you could buy to give you that comfort. So for our bikes, you can pay an extra $100, $200 for an extended warranty that will, like a car or lease or anything, secure certain things to give you a little bit of security. And of course, people that buy bikes from us, they get lifetime tune-ups. They can come to us for service. any repairs. So we help them keep their bikes up and running. So that's definitely a concern, but it's just like any other investment. You definitely got to take care of it. One of the things that we do is we offer education to our customers. And I'll say this, that one of the things that we've experienced that sort of piggybacks is that there's going to be an increase in the demand for service. These bikes have a life as far as batteries and so forth and so on. So we feel like we'll be able to educate and build a workforce from a economic and employment impact perspective, because the city of Atlanta last year had the e-bike rebate, if you guys heard about that. And they gave $1,500 to people who were awarded the lottery to purchase e-bikes. And that is something that they want to continue doing. So we'll likely see more of these rebates. And then, of course, with the World Cup coming, what you're seeing in the city is more bike infrastructure, more bike lanes. And I believe, if someone can correct me, that in and around Mercedes-Benz, they're going to make it carless during that time frame, right? So it's really going to be imperative that folks find other ways to move around the city. I know Paris has now made certain roads carless only for pedestrians. That's something that I've advocated for and have met with and solicited, some of our public officials about, perhaps one of the streets to go east-west could turn into purely a bike lane so we could promote more folks using these modalities to move. And again, as you mentioned before, the environmental impact, the well-being impact, every time someone gets on a bike, they come back with a smile. It sort of taps in. If you haven't been on one in a while, it will tap into a core memory of a child, and you'll just smile. And, e-bikes make it accessible for folks who maybe are a little bit afraid to conquer some of these hills in Atlanta, right? You can get an e-bike and you can move around and have some confidence and still get a great workout. So that's something that we definitely advocate.
So, if anyone has ever been to Beijing, that was the first time I've seen bikes at a scale, an unbelievable scale, and it's incredible to see how many people can make their way in the world.
On a bike.
Right? And
Yeah.
but I had a similar experience out in Seattle where I had to get from one part of the city to the next, and their infrastructure for biking was so built out that I could literally travel the entire city, um, you know,
Yeah.
on a bike and felt very safe doing so. So I'm excited about you being on the forefront. So tell us, what does it take for someone to buy one of these bikes? What's the price? Give us your pitch for coming down and getting a bike,
Yeah.
getting
I
started.
mean, so as I mentioned before, if you're not experienced riding an e-bike, we definitely have bikes for rent. And the good thing about it is we take the approach that your rental experience is sort of a test ride. So we allow you to use the money that you spent on your rental towards the purchase of an e-bike. So let's say 4 of you or 5 of you go out for a day and rent some bikes, and it costs you $300 or $400. You can use 300 of that dollars applied towards one of our bikes. Now, the bikes that we have in inventory right now range from as low as $1,000 to as high as $2,500. So that's the range. And of course, we have multiple ways. We accept all forms of payment, and we actually have a lease program with the SEMA, so folks can actually lease to own one of our bikes. So we try to make it very accessible and very reasonable from a price perspective. We're kind of in the middle of the pack as it relates to cost. There are some e-bike manufacturers that we'll likely be partnering with that have e-bikes that are $7,000, $12,000. One of the things that I didn't mention, Diana, earlier to all of you, one of the things that we've also sort of reimagined, we don't consider ourselves a bike shop. We are a micromobility hub. And the reason why we sort of make that declaration and that differentiation is that, it's now more than ever that these modalities are going to become necessary. And it's not, and we're going to see advancements in technology, just like you see the autonomous cars. We're going to see that same sort of advancement in other modalities of movement. So that's what we're anticipating. So that's why we've sort of reframed the bike shop to micromobility hub. We don't want to just only say we do two wheels and bikes because we see ourselves changing, adapting as the future changes. In addition to that, we're also going to be opening the first micromobility hub at Ponce City Market, hopefully by the end of the month during Labor Day weekend. So hopefully I'm going to get this out to the folks in this committee, but we'll be opening the first micromobility hub at Ponce City Market, where you'll be able to park your bike in a secured area for free for 2 hours. So if you have a bike, you have a scooter, you want to park it there, you want to get some work done, a tune up, flat tire change, anything, we'll be there right there on the trestle. So as you enter Ponce City Market, our retail store will be right there, the first. So we're literally going to be the first shop off the BeltLine that people see entering Ponce City Market. And if you've not been to Ponce City Market, that's a lot of people. So we're really,
That's
really excited about that to
yeah.
offer our services there. You know, you can pull up on us, get a bike, rent it, see some of the products that we have, and engage with us. We would love to see you there, or
That's
over here
awesome.
on English Street.
So I have somewhat of a technical question, but before I ask it, is there anybody out there that wants to jump in and have something pressing they want to talk about? All right. Here's my somewhat of a technical question. So, in at least right now, you are retailing bikes, right?
Yes,
So your bikes are made somewhere and they come to you from somewhere, and then you get them out to the customer.
correct.
So can you talk to us about your logistics? Where do your bikes come from? Where are they made? Are there
Right.
opportunities here? I mean, with all this talk about tariffs and manufacturing here, are there some
Mm.
opportunities right here in the United States? Where do your bikes come from?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the majority of the bikes that we have in our shop are assembled, and I'll say that key word assembled in the United States.
Mhm.
But these manufacturers, these brands are more than likely, if not 99% of them, are getting their bikes from either China, Vietnam, or Taiwan. Um, and they're assembling them here.
Mhm.
And from a logistics perspective, you know, the bikes either come in pallets, it's obviously a truck. They'll ship to, most of the time, I'm seeing them ship ship to California. And then from California, one of the manufacturers that we work with that we've had a lot of success is a company called Velatric. And Velatric is all manufactured in Taiwan. And they have a distribution center in Forest Park. So we're able to get their bikes fairly quick, and their products are high quality. They are on what I would say in our shop on the higher end. They come with Apple Find Me. They're very connected. Works with your watch and give you a whole bunch of technology if you're into that stuff. They have cruise control. We have bikes that have cruise control,
Oh my
blinkers, all the above, horns, you name
God.
it. We got it. But yeah, logistics is interesting. As far as how I haven't thought about that personally. Well, I'll take that back. Another thing I'll add is that one of my partners is in China right now, and they're actually investigating manufacturers there. So we may be attempting to come out with our own brand in the future as we look to scale our rental fleet in preparation of the World Cup. So we're investigating that. So we may have, uh, you know, some bikes that we produce here that are our own branded bikes, and then we're looking going directly there as well.
So I love that because it crosses so many different sectors that we have here on the call. I'm a commercial real estate broker and I focus on industrial warehouses. And I know that there are some people who have this specially zoned warehouses where you ship things in, but you're not paying taxes until those parts go out, right? And so I'm not saying it terribly precisely, but the point is there's a big difference between getting something from China or anywhere else and getting parts and manufacturing them, like putting them together. So the
Yeah,
process of getting it is one process, the process of putting it together is another, and when and where you pay taxes is dependent on where that
yeah,
assembly comes in. I also love the idea that is this an opportunity for us to be thinking about who here needs to receive, can we put our bikes together? Can we do
Yeah,
that here? Like, can we, is that a business, a core business that can be someone's next idea or someone's
yeah,
capacity to get into this. So I love that you have some connections in China that you're looking for this. And that seems like a really great way to follow up. Like, how do we get in
yeah,
this aspect of the business
yeah.
by getting a little further back into the supply chain? So,
Yeah,
um,
in the bike industry, just to add to that, Diana, the origin is where the frame was made for us.
mhm,
So if the frame is made in America, we can say that it was manufactured in America.
mm,
So the source of the tariffs and so forth. So we have seen, and because that, with what globalization, we've outsourced all of that in other places. It's going to be really hard for us in North America to actually build the manufacturing capacity to build the frame here. There are some companies in the bike industry that are trying and thinking about that with some of the incentives, that we've seen in the current administration, as it relates to manufacturing here. But it's in the bike industry, it's based on where the frame of the bike is coming from, the origin of the frame.
yeah. A related question. So for folks in your sector, the biking sector in particular, where are when and where are like the big conferences? So where do you folks get together and share practice and learn sort of cutting edge, skills and techniques and whatever needs to happen? Are there some big events that are coming through town or nearby that people should know about?
We will likely we're working with Micromobility Atlanta, to start to do some experiences, some expos. We'll probably, hopefully, we'll have some this fall, initially at Ponce City Market that we'll host. We're working on that currently. But again, most of what you'll see there is a micromobility industry global conference. They have a U.S. one that I plan to attend, but the big one, if I can find it, I'll share it with you. It's going to be in I think Copenhagen or Holland next year. That I it's a really big one in May that I plan to attend. So, but it's still early. One of the things and dreams that I have is that us as a demographic start to participate and create our own experiences around this technology because we're the ones using it. If you look at the folks that are using the limes and the birds, the demand is coming from our people, right?
Mhm.
But we're not, as a lot of industries, we're not playing in that sandbox. We're the customer, but we're not other than, we working in the factory or the repair factory for the limes and the birds or picking up the limes and the birds. We're not really participating at a high level in that industry. And that's one of the things that we seek to change and be involved in as an
Yeah.
entity.
So related to that, then there are, I'm thinking about the people who are repairing these bikes and kind of leveling up skills. Are you
Yeah.
finding that the technology and skills it takes to maintain these bikes is another opportunity for someone who is running a
Yeah.
school, e-bike trade
Yeah.
school,
Yeah.
or an opportunity for one of our kids? Like
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
us about that piece of it? Who's out there
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
handle these problems that are bound to come up?
Yeah, we'll drop there's an organization called Bearings that we are aware of. They're off the BeltLine. They're another business on the BeltLine, and they actually provide training for youth on bike
Hmm.
repair as a scholarship. It's called Bearings, and if we can find it, we'll drop it in. We're not associated. We do look to partner with them to get talent from them. But that's an organization, a nonprofit organization that we definitely need to be thinking about, and thinking about their model. There could be one in Grove Park, for instance. It doesn't have
Hmm.
to just stop with them. We could start our own sort of lanes. That is something that I think will continue to be in demand, because as you can imagine, what we're seeing is people, once their bike is around 2 or 3 years old, that's when you start to see some things that need to be repaired, and they're sometimes lost on how to get that done. And as I mentioned earlier, the expectation is that we're going to see more of these tools as related to transportation show up, and there's going to be a demand for people to work on them, and it's going to be a premium on folks that have the electrical sort of diagnostic capabilities because they're becoming more and more technology driven.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Anybody else out there curious, want to add their 2 cents?
Mom, mom.
No. Well, I always have something to say, and I have another
Mhm.
question.
Okay, cool.
And that's around, so you're doing what you do here. Do you have some counterparts nationally? Is this your solo operation, or are you a franchise? Like, tell me about your affiliation with similar
Yeah.
companies, either here or nationally.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, our business is called the Belt Hub. It's a BeltLine biking company. We're phasing out BeltLine biking from an external brand, and we're now the Belt. And essentially, our parent company is Belt Micromobility. And if I didn't mention, the Belt stands for the reason why we use the word Belt is it stands for bringing electric lifestyles together. And one of the solutions that we want to bring to the city is a network of docking stations and wayfinding, meaning that you can open up your app, go to the Belt Dock app, and find a place to securely park your bike or your scooter anywhere next to the aquarium, next to the main venues. Then you can start to see people actually start to use these bikes to actually get to places. Because if they have a place to park them, they don't have to pay for parking and they can get some exercise and have some fun. They'll do that. We already know that will happen. So, BikeKeep is a global company that we've partnered with. From a local perspective, because we are very much into supporting the community, we've we've started to work and partner with a company called, not a company, but an organization called Propel Atlanta or Propel ATL. So if you are into cycling or you are into thinking about, picking up one of these devices to move around with, Propel is a great organization. They offer free bike cycling safety classes. That's another thing that we do here. I am a certified league of bicycle safety coach. So we do classes. We'll take people out on the road, get them comfortable riding the bike, and make sure they're safe. Because it is not something you should take lightly, riding a bike in Atlanta. There's still a lot of awareness and a lot of education that we need to do. So Propel is one of the organizations that I always like to give a shout out locally. But from a business perspective, we're constantly looking at partnering. We have our manufacturers that we get our bikes from. We're constantly trying to make sure that these partners are ones that we trust and have the right ethics and will be around for the long haul for our customers so we can support them. So yeah, we constantly look for opportunities to partner. And then locally, if you're a business that has some adjacency with what we do, we would love to hear from you. Again, we're in the micromobility, we're into creating experiences. We do tours and guided bike rides. We invite folks into our space, which is actually adjacent to a wellness center that provides well-being, holistic, and Chinese tea. So we would love to have and host this committee or any of the Black Chamber events here. We have enough space to do that, and I know I've talked to Henry about that a few times. So we're open to that as well.
Well, that is such good timing, right when our fearless leader Melvin has dropped in. I'm sure he loved hearing that. So let's take a pause, Melvin. If there's anything you want to do to shout out, now's a good time. We're gonna start wrapping up.
Thank you,
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah, I had to step in and
thank you.
say hello to Monte because he and I met. I guess it was maybe last year, and
Yeah.
it was about something different. So he's a very diverse brother. He's doing his thing, okay. And congratulations on this business that you have, which is really really cool. It's really different, and you touched on something earlier when you were speaking about, yeah, we're the consumers here and to your point, we need to have a greater presence at the level of ownership. So we applaud you, number one, and I guess longer term, will you expand? And then also, how would others from our community say come into this thing and from an ownership standpoint and do what you did? Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. We are expanding. We have one location. Our model is to create hubs. That's why we're called the Belt Hub. And as I mentioned before, it's bringing electric lifestyles together. I want that to stick in everyone's head. That's the belt. And essentially, our model is to activate, I won't give you all the secret sauce, but it's to activate the ancillary revenue of properties. So if there's property managers here, if they've built a new facility, they've likely gotten LEED certified, which is a certification for them to be sustainable and get credit as a business that typically includes bike storage, bike parking, right? So what we're expanded to, and as I mentioned earlier, we're opening up our first uh, hub, our second hub at Ponce City Market, Melvin, at the end of the year during Labor Day weekend. We partnered with Jamestown, which owns Ponce City Market. They own um, um, Avalon. They own
And the
Colony Square,
Buckhead
Westside
Village.
Provisions, Buckhead Village. I mean, you name it, they got it here. Some premium real estate. We're the first micromobility partner where we're establishing bike hospitality amenity to Ponce City Market. So you'll be able to drive your scooter or your bike to Ponce and have secure parking. You can hotel it, and we'll also provide bike services, bike rentals, as well as we'll have some of our bikes for sale there if people want to test ride some of our featured products that we have. So that's something that's new that we're excited about. We want to do that in other locations. And then from an investment perspective, as we expand, one of the things, and again, this is not something that we've completed or baked completely, but we will have opportunities for folks to invest in our business as we expand our infrastructure portion of our business, which is secure bike docks and parking stations, which for us, the money is in the advertisement in that space. So there's an ad component, advertising, sponsorship component in the business from a micromobility perspective that we have as well. So it's definitely dynamic, but the way to simplify it is that we provide the app that you can use to park and rent. So from a software perspective, we have that. Provide the devices that you can use from a two wheels perspective, a bike that you can rent, and then we provide the services to keep you running and up and running. So those are the three sort of service offers and verticals that we sit in right now, and the
Yeah, so
infrastructure. So it's full.
real quick, Diana. So the way the world is going, the way society is moving, this is a growth industry. And because sometimes we have folks in our community are looking for, like, I want to be an entrepreneur. Where should I look to start? And it's like, well, you need to go where the world is going so you can grow with that. And so this is one of those opportunities that I see as a growth industry. That's
Absolutely. And we I feel like we went around the world and back with our conversation in terms of that, because we talked a little bit about where's the manufacturing industry, where's the repair and training industry going, what does it look like in terms of parts and sourcing. So this, as any growth industry, there are all of these tentacles. We talked about insurance. How do you insure this thing? Right.
Yeah, we hit
So
it all
there,
right.
right. So we talked about real estate, right? Like what the warehousing opportunity. And then you've talked about, of course, folks who have property to park your bike. So like with any transportation company, transportation is a multiplier. Where there's transportation, there is the core business and then everything that falls from that. So I'm hoping with the crowd that we have that did not fall on deaf ears and that people found what they were looking for in this conversation and a little inspiration as to, to follow the puck where the puck is going. So this was a great conversation, Monte. Thank you so much. We do have time if there's anybody who has some questions they want to ask. If not, I just have a couple of announcements I want to share, but I'll just be quiet for a minute and see if anybody out there wants to chime in.
Oh,
All
I have a
right.
question.
Yes, please. Mhm.
Um, I'm just recent moved to the Atlanta area, and I don't have an electric bike. I have a standard bike, and I was just blown away by the lack of infrastructure for cycling from one part of town to the other. I'm not a great fan of riding on the BeltLine because I have to deal with walkers, dogs, and so forth. So I was a bike commissioner in Oakland, California, and one of the things that we did was for every road project, it gave us an opportunity to put in bike lanes, to mandate, to change the infrastructure, making it possible to see how we could get more people. Because for many instances, being able to get from your home to the mass transit, and then once you get to your destination, we put in bike lockers. So instead of you hauling your bike into the office, you had a locker that you could lock and go into your office. If your office was a mile away or something, we worked with companies to say, can we put in a bike lane between this location? Is there any type of, I was looking at your title, Diana, the Transportation and Logistics Committee. Was there any way to put in some type of program to work with the city of Atlanta to be able to do that, to make this city more bike friendly? Because I know for me, I've ridden all over the world, and I will not ride my bike on the streets in Atlanta because there's nothing like having the number 110 bus coming down your back. And it's like, I'm not going to ride on the sidewalk. So I think, from Monte's leap, it's how do I get from point A to point B? It's one thing to say I want to go to the aquarium and they have a bike locker there, but how do I get there?
Yeah, so
Um,
I could start to answer some of that, Diane, if you don't mind. And I think is it Royston? Royston?
Royston. Oh, Roy. Just call
Royston?
me. Everybody calls me Roy.
All right, nice to meet you, Roy. And
Yeah.
I would say that I mentioned a couple of organizations that are the main advocacy organizations for what you're talking about. There was a recently Jason Dozier, who's a councilman. Him and his daughter were riding in a protected bike area or lane, leaving the Mercedes-Benz Stadium from a soccer game, and they got hit by a car, and they actually videotaped it and it was on the news. So there is a lot of advocacy and a lot of people that are fighting for more bike infrastructure in the city of Atlanta. The mayor's committed to it. The Department of Transportation is committed to it. And being here in the city and being in the business that I'm in, we've seen the improvements. It's actually happening right now. And if you went to the Path Foundation or Atlanta Trails, you could find all of the safest trails that we have. Again, not enough, not by any means enough, but it is starting to turn a bit more towards a California or Bay Area sort of spin. But there's definitely rooms to go. So I would just say, check out Propel ATL. That's the first place I would recommend. And Rebecca, who runs that organization, has been in the game for the last 20 plus years advocating, and we've made some strides there, and offer cycling training for free to folks like you and others who want to get a little bit more safe. And if you want to participate in an organized way to advocate for what you're talking about, they're waiting for you. Let's say that.
and to be direct about what our committee or what the Atlanta Black Chambers could and would do, I think the pathway to that is there a volunteer who wants to take the torch and be our eyes and ears in those venues that Monte mentioned? This is a volunteer-run organization, and we probably don't have the capacity to sort of be the leader in it, but supporting our members like Monte, supporting the policies. We have a policy arm to the Atlanta Black Chambers. all of those things start and stop with a volunteer who make it important to them. So I would recommend your first stop is some of those advocacy organizations. But if you are a proud member of the Atlanta Black Chambers and you want to be our representation in those settings, we would love that and would welcome it. And all my information is in the chat if you want to talk about that. As we wrap up, I just have two announcements. One, we're going to listen out for Monte, because he is going to have his grand opening at Ponce City Market. We want to come out and support him. That's going to be in September sometime, right? So we'll listen out for that.
Yep.
And if you put your contact information, your email in the chat, then it makes it very easy for us to follow up with you. The second thing is we will have at least 3 more of these this year. So September, October, and November, we take off for December. I am super excited about having a member who has a fleet of Amazon trucks, who's gonna, or what do you call them? Cargo trucks that he's going to be talking about. So I'm excited about that. And then we have a young woman who's actually not from Atlanta, but she's starting a truck parking business, which is a huge need in this area. I always hear people asking for land and how do you build a truck parking? And we're going to talk to someone who actually is doing that and wants to create a network of privately owned truck parking locations. And so I'm really excited about that as well. So please listen out. So for the next 3 second Fridays at 11, just plan to chime in, and let's listen out for what's the next and greatest from Monte. And the last announcement is, and I strategically chose this coffee cup. Can you all see this, or is it backwards? It says Uncle Nearest. Can you all see that okay?
Yep.
I hope
Can
so.
see it.
Yes.
So one of our members is planning a tour to the Uncle Nearest Museum in Tennessee. It's going to be on a Saturday in October. We think it's going to be October 18th, but stay tuned. But it will be a 1-day tour of the Uncle Nearest Museum. If you like or don't like whiskey, this is a part of our history we should know. It is a beautiful museum. It's worth a Saturday, and so we're excited about that, and we'll be talking more about that. And it's a way for this community to get together and get to know each other and figure out how to do some business together. So with that, I think we're done. Can everyone say goodbye to Monte and thank him for his time? And
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you.
We've dropped all the links and all of our socials, so follow us if you can, and look out, come through, holler at us. We're here.
I'm coming to see you, brother.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
I'm definitely coming. I actually have been in the shopping in my mind, shopping for a
Okay.
bike.
All
So
right,
I'll check you
come
out.
test ride. That's all you need
I
to do.
will. I will.
All right.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Like I was dropping them, Dad?